Your heart is that muscle that controls a lot of things in your body. But did you know that your heart can also be a source of strength for yourself and to love yourself? I don't think we ever think about it that way, that we can use our heart to love ourselves, and our physical heart, I'm talking about, not just the heart as in, how we use the terminology for heart. So stick around. My guest is a cardiology nurse, and we're going to talk about how to empower yourself and love yourself with the heart muscle. So stick around. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and I want to say hi to everyone who's joining us tonight. I'm doing this show because I really have this sense that we don't take enough time to really appreciate who we are, to really love ourselves, and love the body, the skin that we're in. And so my guest today is part of this loving the body that you're in, but also using it to love yourself. One of my guests once said, self-love is not selfish. It is actually an obligation. Like it's your obligation to love yourself. So we may have a little bit of technical difficulties. For the very first time, this show is live. I usually do it pre-recorded, and wouldn't you know, we're doing it live, and the tech powers that be are trying to mess with us. But we shall persevere. We shall continue to move forward with the show. So I want to welcome all of you who are on Facebook, who are on LinkedIn, and streaming on Twitch. We are also live on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, or if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, go over to youtube.com/C/Alicia Couri and subscribe. We have so much more content over there for all our shows. And so I would love, love, love if you can go over there and subscribe. Hello, Reginald from Maryland, always looking to add to his knowledge, to update his owner's manual. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. So this show is also the Love My Body, Love Myself show, is sponsored by Alicia Couri and produced by Red Carpet CEO. So leave a comment if you find that any of this information is valuable, and share it out with a friend or someone you know that can benefit from the information. And I don't want to delay anymore. I want to bring my guest up. So all the other announcements, anything else I have to share with you, I will share during the break. But for right now, I want to bring my guest on, Teresa Palmer. She is a cardiology nurse, and she is a recipient of the IAOTP Award, International Association of Top Professionals Award, for what she does. And so let me just tell you a snippet of Teresa. She is a holistic cardiology nurse practitioner, and her work is around healing hearts. And with her clients, she helps them to self-empower by helping them heal their hearts. So Teresa, we're going to dissect that and talk about that a little bit today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alicia. Is everybody hearing me well?
I hear you loud and clear. Yes. So we were having a little bit of technical issues. So we're gonna soldier on and believe that nothing is going to disrupt this interview. Right? So I'm going to dive right in and ask exactly that. How do you help your patients by healing their heart, physical heart, empower themselves?
Okay, what really happens is we're all born with personal power. We all have this power. And it's called by many names. It can be called the life force, the God within you, the universe within you, connecting to a higher self, connecting to a higher realm. We're born with it. And when you look at children, they're always empowered because they're not conditioned yet by society to look outside themselves for the answers. So especially in healthcare, at least in the United States, I can't speak for the world, but in the United States, we've been conditioned to look to other people for our healthcare answers. We
Not
know what to do, but we don't trust ourselves in making that decision. So, what I do with people is I get them tuned into that personal power. And like I said, it's always there. It resides in your heart. And what better place? It
yeah.
resides inside of your heart. And once you recognize that power, you get the self confidence, the self assurance to start making decisions and to start living from your heart. And when you live from your heart, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, you activate the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from the abdomen, goes all the way up to the brain. And it's your peace and calm. So
Mm.
activates peace and calm within you. And when you're peace and calm within you, your body becomes in balance because there's also a responsibility that goes along with health and with ourselves. And that's recognizing that 70 to 80% of illness, including heart disease, starts with stress. So if you're stressed, and I mean chronic stress, not the stress of going someplace or starting a new job, I mean the chronic stress, kind of
Like
the stress.
living, working every day in a stressful, toxic environment.
Yeah, and just life itself sometimes. Sometimes people have a lot of things that make a lot of stress. The whole
Mm.
world's been stressed for the past 2 years. There's a lot of energies, there's a lot of things going on. And once you recognize that, you could manage it. And there's two ways to manage it that are very, very important and they're very, very easy. One is sitting quietly or meditation. And by that, I mean just sit quietly without a phone, without TV, without any distractions.
Yeah, you're telling people to sit without their phones. That's,
Yeah,
I know we've become so attached to these things.
yeah, but 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. It's good to do it when you first wake up. You could even do it while you're lying in bed. So you
Mm.
can actually wake up 10 minutes early, lie in bed for 10 minutes. If any thoughts come in your mind, don't worry about them. Just acknowledge that they're there and let them float away. And then at night, before you go to bed, the same thing. And what that does is it starts to change the chemistry in your brain
Mm.
over a period of time. And you start to access the higher part of your brain, the higher intelligence. We have lower, which is the reptile brain, and
Mhm.
that's survival at any cost. And that's what should only be activated when it's a life and death situation, because that's where you release your stress hormones. That's where the body is saying fight, fight, fight. It raises blood pressure, it raises heart rate, you breathe heavier, you breathe faster because you need to get out of danger. Unfortunately, that's where we've learned to live. And that's where we make a lot of our own problems. So by sitting quietly morning and night, you start to turn that off and you start to access the higher part of the brain, which is rational, which
Mm.
allows you time to make decisions. So it doesn't snap and say, whew,
Yeah.
it's life or death. It gives you the chance to calm down and say, is what I'm experiencing life threatening?
Mm.
Is by all means, then run. 99.9% of the time, we're
It's
not,
not.
it's not
We're
life endangering.
being chased by
Just,
a saber-toothed tiger. We're not.
and you need to sit there and process it. And this gives you time. So that calms down your respirations, calms down your heart rate, calms down your breathing, gets your breathing and your heart what they call a resonance.
Hmm.
It kind of goes into sync so that it helps to keep the body in balance. So when you look at it that way, we're really responsible for most of what happens to us. And we can change that. And that's the self empowerment. The self
Mm.
empowerment is, I could do meditation, I could do breath work. And by breath work, I mean simply taking a deep breath in to the count of 5 and exhaling it slowly, either through your mouth if you can, if that's not comfortable, through your nose. Again, you activate this vagus nerve in your heart, which sends a message to the brain that everything is good. I'm peaceful, I'm calm. And this de stressing is what helps to keep you healthy. So, a lot of times we look at, and I'm not dismissing things like diet, exercise, sleep. We need all those things. We
Hmm.
definitely do. But we also need to look more to ourselves and know that we're in charge. We're in charge of our health, at least 70, 80%. We're in charge of things. The other 20%, you can't worry about it because there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here now. If the light above me falls on my head,
I can't
there's
do
nothing I
that.
could do about it. If an earthquake suddenly happens, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't sit here and
So let's
worry.
not be chicken little. Let's not be chicken the
Yeah.
sky is falling.
But for the most part, we're in charge of what we do. And that's that self empowerment that's so, so important. And then there's also what I call living from the heart. And
Hmm.
I learned that on a medical mission in Romania, where children are taught from an early age to live with compassion, gratitude, resilience, and the ability to at least try to forgive. Because this is what opens up your heart, what helps to keep your body in balance. And again, it helps your heart secrete a balance hormone. It's got a long name, and I don't really want to go into that. But that balance hormone, again, regulates the heart rate. It helps with respirations, and it also smooths the muscle of the heart because the heart is an electrical system. And that
Hmm.
electrical system also goes out more than 6 feet. So what you're feeling, others around you feel. So
Mm.
you could walk with grace and live with the compassion, the resilience. You're giving that to other people. So your actions then, by you being self responsible and this self empowerment, you're then passing on that self empowerment to other people and you're helping them ignite that spark in their heart. And we all are interconnected. We're interconnected to everything in the universe, beyond the universe, anything that you could imagine. So what affects us could affect other people.
I love that. And you said something to me in another interview we did on a different show, about how the heart operates.
Yeah,
And it is the heart itself is a self-care muscle. And
yeah.
we should really take cues from the way our heart operates to
It
how we
pumps
should
blood
operate.
to itself. The heart pumps blood to itself. It fills the heart up with blood, and only then could it pump blood to the rest of the body. You can't
Mhm.
pump what you don't have, and it's drinking from an empty well. So you could
Right.
only go so long. So if you think of it, that if the heart fills itself up first, that shows you how important you are.
Right.
And without you, it's like the airlines always said, put your own oxygen mask on first and then help others. Because
Hmm.
if you can't take care of yourself, you have nothing to give to others. And
I
we often,
just love that.
yeah, we often forget that. And especially women, we forget it because we're kind of conditioned again. We've got all these outside conditionings that try to tell us something different than what our heart is really telling us. And we need to really tune in and listen to ourselves. Where society may say you have to take care of other around you, a woman's job is X, Y, and Z. No, the first job of anybody is to care for themselves because if
Hmm.
you can't care for yourself, you have nothing to give anybody else. You're useless.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yes.
So I love the analogy of that, and I use it all the time, and I do give you credit for it because you're
Yeah.
who I learned it from. Um, that that if your heart knows to care for itself first, why is it so hard for us to do it? Why has it become so difficult for us to do it?
Yeah.
So let me take a quick break. And because we're live, I don't have my regular break track. So I'm going to be doing the break. So let's take a quick break and we'll come right back with more from Teresa Palmer. So stick around, everybody. So the Love My Body, Love Myself show is sponsored by Alicia Couri Inc. and produced by Red Carpet CEO. Alicia Couri Inc. is a boutique consulting firm that specializes in the development of audaciously proactive leaders and teams using brain science and people data to get results. For more information, you can visit our website. It's www.aliciacouri.com. And now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Love My Body, Love Myself. I am your host, Alicia Couri, and with me today is Teresa Palmer. She is a cardiology nurse, and we've been talking all things heart and how the body functions, how the mind-body connection really helps us empower ourselves. If you missed any of this, go back, watch the replay. It's really fascinating. She gave us some tips on how to de-stress, calm our minds, calm our hearts through meditation and breath work. And now I want to ask you about the medical system itself, because I've done a few shows with women that have talked about this sort of not being heard or being treated as if their concerns aren't real. You're in the medical system, and you mentioned at the beginning about understanding, you're empowering people by really helping them to calm themselves and be in control of the decisions that they're making. So what do you think is the direction our medical system is heading? Is it heading more into where people holistically, where people are kind of welcomed to be their own advocates, or don't you see that happening?
You know what? I see it happening. I really do. I don't know what the medical profession itself would say. I am a nurse practitioner. I am a healthcare provider. And I think these past 2 years have really shown us that healthcare does not have all the answers, that sometimes they don't know.
Hmm.
And, it's really up to people themselves to understand their bodies, to do the best that they can, and to be educated. To really, it's also up to providers to educate people. And
Hmm.
at least in the United States, we're getting better, but we haven't done a good job at that. Most of the time, it's take a pill to relieve a symptom. And I hate to say that, but it's changing. But a lot of people, that's what they like. They like a
Hmm.
quick fix because everything takes work. And you see that with weight loss, you see that with any addictions, that it takes effort and it takes time and it takes patience. And, we're in a society where everything is quick, quick, quick.
Hmm.
So,
Microwave society.
yeah. So if something promises you a quick result, then you're apt to go with that. And again, it's this outside conditioning. But I would tell any woman, I would tell anybody that whenever you go to uh, an office to a healthcare provider, that what you do is have your list of questions. Don't make it 2 miles long because nobody's going to be able to
Just
address
sit for
all
that.
of it. Pick out, pick out two or three things that are really important for you at that visit. Two or
Hmm.
three things. Understand if you are on any medication before you take it. Have a discussion about it. And if somebody won't discuss something with you, find a new provider. That's the
Mm.
best advice I can give anybody. If you're told you need to take this medication for blood pressure or whatever, what you need to do is really find out and ask the questions there. You know exactly what is this medication for? Um, how do I take this medication? How long do you expect me to be on this medication? What would be any side effects that I should look for? And is there anything else I can do before we start this medication? Is there some other way that we could handle this? And
Yeah.
oftentimes there is. You know, sometimes there may not be, and you need medication, and there's no harm in that. But again, know what you're taking, know why you're taking it. You know, um, I have a lot of patients that can't tell you what they're taking or why.
Yeah. And, you know,
They just know.
there's also
That's
the standard of care that I've heard from a couple doctors that we live in a litigious society. So they want to give you what the general standard of care or the general answer to your question is,
mhm,
or they will encourage you to take the medication because that is the standard of care, because they don't want to get sued if something else happens.
right. And the truth of the matter is that if we would all work together, you know, empower the patient to you know, partner in their health care because they know better what's going on with their body than you do. And they call it
Mhm.
practicing medicine for a reason because it is practicing. Um,
Right.
like I said, we don't have all the answers. And the more a consumer is educated, whether, you know, about anything, like a lot of people wouldn't dream of buying an appliance or buying a car or buying even a computer without researching it, looking at prices, looking at what the computer does, how the
Mhm.
car runs. And yet with health, they can't give you any information. You know, they don't research. If somebody says you have high blood pressure, well, what is that?
Yeah. So
You
I
know,
have this comment from Reginald. He says that I submit men are at greater risk due to their resistance to admit that there's a problem, let alone seek a doctor. Having knowledge is powerful, especially in exile. Exile, I think that's what it said. Elite lifestyle, I think this healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing, you know, with anything, and it's you can't really consider it a problem because, you know, with healthcare, it's just there's something to be solved and managed, and it's
Hmm.
always better to get to the root of it. So, if say you have uh, high blood pressure, you have plaque in your arteries, well, then take different steps to help manage that. It may include medication, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's also going to include diet, exercise, which are important, but then look at that mind, body, spirit connection. And
Mm,
that's where the living from your heart comes in. That
right.
you're actually giving yourself an extra layer of protection. And it's something that you don't really hear providers talk about
I
that.
like that. I love that
Yeah.
because you really do. There is that mind, body, spirit connection that we have to keep that going, which is what this show is all about, is connecting those three so that that plays along with
Yeah.
everything else. You have to do what's right for your mind, for your body, and for your spirit.
And you know,
Uh,
it always goes mind, body, spirit because mind affects the body, body affects the mind, body
mhm.
affects your spirit, spirit affects your body. So,
Everything is interconnected.
yeah, I mean, a good example is a lot of times there's problem with forgiveness. And I
Mhm.
know it could be difficult, and sometimes you need to seek professional care because if you have the inability or the resistance to forgive, it's harming you
Mhm.
because it's that pent up anger. It's you're not allowing yourself to move forward. And you
Mm.
have to release that anger. You have to release that hurt. It's not that you forget what happened. You don't forget what happened, but you're willing to move past it.
And it's
It's
poison
showing
to your body.
It's important to your body. It's
Yeah, it's
important to your,
poisonous. It's poisonous to hold on to that in your body.
yeah, because it's poison, and eventually the body will attack itself. It may take 30 years, but the body's going to attack itself because there's no other outlet. If the mind doesn't have an outlet, it has to go into the body.
Mm,
The spirit doesn't have an outlet, it has to go into the body. And if we hold on to all these things, if we work from a place of anger, if we think that we're not enough, if we don't, our thoughts become our actions, which become our reality.
mhm.
So if you think you could recuperate anything, you will. It's mind over matter. That I've seen people alive that were told they shouldn't be alive.
Right, because I want you to tell that story, but before we do that, because I don't wanna gloss over what you just said about, you know, how the mind how the if you don't release things, because I haven't heard it expressed that way, it has to go somewhere and it will go back into the body.
Yeah.
Because I firmly believe that. And I've heard it said in different ways, but the way you said that was very powerful, that if you hold on to these things in your mind, unforgiveness and anger and bitterness and all those things, it has to find an outlet and it will go back into the body and then create dis-ease in your body.
Right. Because the body knows how to be in balance. And
Right.
most of the time, again, 70, 80%, we take a part in what happens to our body. Usually it's something we do that gets our body out of balance.
Hmm.
You're born, unless you're born with some sort of congenital um, problem, physical problem, you're born in balance. And it takes a number of years. And over the years, we do X, Y, and Z, and we don't pay attention to ourselves, and we become imbalanced, which leads to disease. And
Yeah.
if you really want a great example, I don't want to scare people, but a great example of how powerful the mind is, look at broken heart syndrome. And broken heart syndrome is when physically you're under so much stress and duress. Usually it happens because of multiple losses or multiple events that you're angry, disgusted, hot,
Hmm.
you just, it's just so difficult and it overwhelms the mind.
Hmm.
And what happens is you secrete huge amounts of epinephrine and norepinephrine, which are the stress hormones. And that could literally stop your heart.
Wow.
And I've seen that. I've seen that where people walk in, look like they're having a heart attack. You do all the cardiac tests in the hospital, they're fine. They look sick, they feel sick because the bottom of their heart kind of balloons out and it can't function properly. 2, 3 days later, they're walking out of the hospital, they're fine. So that shows you the power of what your mind could really do to your body
Mm.
detrimentally. And I'll share the story about the monk whenever you want
Yes.
to, which
Yes.
is
I want you to share that story.
what the
Share that story.
mind and the spirit can do for your health.
But before that, if anyone wants to get a hold of or connect with Teresa on Instagram, she is at well_being_gal. And on Facebook, she is at teresa.palmer.961. So you can connect with Teresa there. I don't want to miss that. And so we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to end up talking with the IOATP award. Okay,
Okay.
I I I always say that those letters. I'm a little
Yes.
dyslexic,
Yeah,
so.
IAOTP.
All right. So tell the story about the monk, because this is
This is
fascinating.
this changed the way that I saw life, how I practiced medicine. It was in the year 2000, and I was participating in a medical mission, helping to establish a clinic in a very mountainous region in northern Romania called Christacor. And I tried to find it on the map, and I couldn't even find it on a map. It's a very small village, and there's a monastery on the outskirts of the village. So we had this clinic. We basically had it up and running, and it would serve the people of the community. And one day it was a slow afternoon. We were getting ready to start to close, and all of a sudden, at the doorway appeared a monk from the monastery, and he couldn't breathe well. He was holding his chest, and he said, "I'm having trouble breathing. Can I just need to come in and sit down." Well, with that, he collapsed in the doorway. So we administered oxygen. The nearest hospital was about an hour away. So we drove him in a car to the hospital, and I really believed that he wasn't going to survive. And my perception was what I had seen before. When I saw people in this kind of shape, they didn't make it. He had a totally different perception. His perception was that he wasn't ready to die, and he wasn't going to die because he had work to do. So when we got to the hospital, the emergency room doctor, they said there's really nothing we could do medically. He has damage to his heart. Either he's going to recuperate or he's not. He said, in no uncertain terms, he mustered up the energy and he said, "I'm not going to die." He said, "I have work to do. Take me back to the monastery. I'm going to be fine. I just
Mm.
need, a little bit of time." So we went back to the monastery, and he had asked me, would I stay there for the evening? And I thought, I will, but he's not going to be alive by the morning. So all night, I'm kind of, I shouldn't say I'm waiting for him to die. That doesn't sound right. But I didn't think there was
But
much.
you've seen this before from your experience. You
No, I hadn't seen somebody do well. So I was just expecting that he was just going to die quietly in the middle of the night, which is what I was used to. I wasn't used to
Mhm.
people surviving. In the morning, he looked good. He had color in his face. He was sitting up in bed. And his first remark to me was fairly sarcastic. He said, "Are you surprised that I'm still alive?" And I was shocked. I didn't know what to say to him. And he said, "You don't have, he said, you have a different perception than I do." He said, "You're in your head and not in your heart." He said,
Mm.
"You, by your past experience and science, you were being rational and saying this person can't survive. I, on the other hand, was in my heart using my own power to help myself heal because I'm not ready to die." He said, "So there's no doubt in my mind that I'm not going to survive." He said, "Not only will I survive, but I will thrive."
Mm.
He said, "Because there is no other option for me." And that's what he believed, and that's what happened.
Belief is a powerful, powerful thing. Faith and belief. It's very
Yep.
powerful.
Yeah. And he said, you need faith. You need to get out of that head of yours. He said, you
Hmm.
need to get into your heart. And he said, you need to believe in the power of the human spirit and the power of the heart. And he's the first one that told me about, we're all born with this power and it's in our heart. He called it the God spot.
Hmm.
Being a religious man, that's what he called it. He said, you have the God spot, this piece of God, and you're ignoring it. He
Mm.
said, you're not helping, your patients. He said, you may be great technically. He said, I'm sure you're an excellent, technician. He said, you've got a lot of smarts. He said, but you don't have a lot of spirit. And he said, that's where you need to improve. He said, you need to work on your spirit and really looking at people as potentials for living and not what you've seen in the past. And it really changed the way I practiced. That I couldn't practice the same after that. Once I got back to, at the time I was doing cardiac surgery, and it was just, to me it was just phenomenal because I said people make the choice.
Yeah.
Even with surgery, if you don't want surgery and you think you're going to die, nobody should force surgery on you.
Yeah. But Belden says that this is so powerful this was part of my dad's story as well.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. And you see it all the time with cancer. You
Hmm.
see people that are given a prognosis and they defy it. They say, no, that's not what's going to happen. And I've seen people with a very good diagnosis, and I've seen them die because they didn't believe that they were going to get well. So
Hmm.
it works both ways. You
Absolutely.
have the power, and you have to really use it, and you have to use your beliefs and be empowered and use it for your higher good, which then becomes the higher good of everybody else, because we're all interconnected. So what
Yes.
we do influences others, what they do influences others, and you
And
know,
so on. And that's why we said at the beginning, when you said it's all connected, it has
yeah,
to be connected. The
yeah,
heart, the spirit, the soul, and the body, all of it has to be connected, in order for us as human beings to thrive, to really
yeah,
thrive.
yeah. And you think about it, if everybody in the world lived from their heart and practiced all these things, there'd be no war, there would be no conflict, because people would be able to settle everything because they would be working for everybody's higher good.
And we'd live to like thousands of years old because we wouldn't be wouldn't
Yeah,
be we would live forever.
yeah.
Um,
Some you look at some of the cultures. There's people that are well into their hundreds.
mhm.
I
Yep.
had a patient one time that was 110 and still drove, and he was a Native American.
Yes. It's so possible. So let's talk really quick as we wrap up about IAOTP, International Association of Top Professionals, and that's how we connected. You've won that award multiple years in a row.
Oh, I've got a few awards. Actually, I've gotten 4 awards from them.
Yeah. So tell us about the awards and what they were for.
Oh, okay. In 2019, I was the nurse practitioner of the year in for the work that again, most of it was the work that I do on social media, and to helping people to be empowered, giving them you know the spiritual side of health. So that
Hmm.
was 2019. 2020 was Empowered Woman of the Year, again, for the work that I do with my patients, empowering people. Then in 2021,
21. Hmm.
yeah, 2000, let me see, I forget what I got.
So
Um,
is it one's supposed to be for 22 and one for 21, I guess.
yeah, I got Lifetime Achievement, and I got in 2021, I got the top healthcare practitioner of the decade, top
Wow.
health practitioner of the decade. And then with that came the Lifetime Achievement Award. So that's where all that stands.
Well,
And
congratulations on that because the work that you're doing is important. It's changing the field, it's changing the way people see themselves and changing the way they treat themselves. And
yes.
I just love having you on the show.
Could I just give a little plug for my book, which is soon to be revised?
Absolutely.
I did,
Absolutely.
I did write a book in 2020. It was released in September of 2020, because I felt that people needed to get out of fear and into courage with everything that was going on. So
Mhm.
it's a lot about, it was a small guidebook, a lot about what I talk about and about stress management.
What is
Um,
it called?
it's called Empowered for Well-Being. And I'm now revising some of that to include, more about how we use intentions, how we use intuition, how all that plays into our self-care and into our heart and our emotions and spirit.
Well, thank you so very much, Teresa. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with our audience. And if you want to, again, get in touch with Teresa, please go and follow her on Instagram. It's at well underscore being underscore gal. And if you are on Facebook, connect with Teresa. It's at Teresa.Palmer.961. So thank you. And if you have any other comments as you watch the replay, please go ahead and leave the comments so that she can respond to you through the comments. Thank you again, Teresa, for being on the show.
And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that this is helping empower people.
And the tech worked. Yes.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Before this, like 30 seconds before the show, she wasn't even in in the green room yet. Kept popping in and out. So the tech worked the whole time.
It
Thank
worked.
you.
Thank
Yes.
you so much.
All right. Take care.
Okay, thank you.
So that was another great episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. We were live today, so anything can happen when we're live. I just wanted to quickly remind everyone that this show is sponsored by Alicia Couri Inc., and it is produced by Red Carpet CEO. So Alicia Couri Inc. is a boutique consulting firm that specializes in the development of audaciously proactive leaders and teams using brain science and people data to get results. For more information, you can go to our website. It's aliciacouri.com. And I didn't get to do all of this ahead of time, so I'm going to do it right now. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me on alicia360.com. That's where you can find me on all social media handles. If you're on IG, you can follow me. It's at the Alicia Couri or at Audacious Confidence. I want to invite you to join our Facebook group because I would like to impact 100,000 women with this message of love my body, love myself. And yes, men as well. You are welcome because I know I have men in the audience. Men were actually commenting during this show today. So you are welcome to join the Love My Body, Love Myself Facebook group as well. It's facebook.com/group/LMBLM. And I have other shows that I would love to invite you to come on over and watch. First, on Mondays at 5 p.m., we have Unleash Your Audacious Confidence. That's on winwinwomen.tv. So that's on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can come on over, and that's a really unique show in that we have a presentation, 30-minute presentation, or a guest interview for the first 30 minutes. And then the second 30 minutes, it's a Q&A session. It's a discussion. So you can hop on and discuss with us during that show, anything that we talked about, and ask your questions. And then on the first and third Saturdays of the month, there is Small Business Saturday Shout Out. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows or a sponsor, please email support@aliciacouri.com. Small Business Saturday Shout Out is usually the first and third Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. However, this coming Saturday, the 12th, we will have a show. We'll have a show this coming Saturday at 12. This is March 12th. So come on over and join the show. And if you would like a copy of any of my books, you can go to linktr.ee/acouri, and you'll find the links to the books there as well. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on another episode of Love My Body, Love Myself. I'm your host, Alicia Couri, and I want to encourage you to take some time this week to do something just for yourself, to prove to yourself, just like your heart does, prove to yourself that you take care of yourself, that you love your body, and you love yourself. Until next time, mwah.